Hello guys, happy new year. So I was backtesting AU yesterday, and well, you could call it forward testing. So I was just seeing how price reacted from these two zones I drew out in the last video as a forecast, and managed to catch a 60R move on it. So I'm just going to break this trade down for you step by step, just to show you what I was looking for, what I was looking for in the lower time frames, etc. And yeah, hopefully this video is informative for you, and you can maybe, well, obviously I don't expect you to be catching 60R moves, because obviously these moves, they come around, I don't know, they're 1 in a million trades. Obviously I know you get, some people on social media who post these sort of trades every day, and it's just not a realistic idea of trading. So when these moves do come about, they are very rare, but if you can catch them, fair play. If you caught this live, hats off to you. You're done for the year already. 60% of your account gained if you caught this move. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly just cover that trades like this don't get caught every day. I'll be lucky probably within a week if I can catch 5 to 7R at the max. That's on average. Obviously accounting losses, it could be lower, but that's a realistic idea of trading. This is like a once in a blue moon sort of thing. But I thought, it'd be educational and purposeful if I broke this down for you guys. Maybe if you're struggling in a few areas, maybe something in this video will clear it up for you. But yeah, let's get right into it. So I'm just going to replay price to where I was looking at it from last week. It was around this area. I'm just going to clear all the analysis here so you guys can see how I did it as I did it, sort of thing. So initially what we were looking at on AU was a sort of steady uptrend. We had this liquidity sweep of these lows right here. I'll just draw them out. So we had a liquidity sweep of these lows right here, maybe mitigating something in this demand right here, and then we moved higher. So we only moved to this point right here, and then we pushed higher, very momentous move into these highs. But obviously on the daily, we can see that we've been pushing up for a while now, and we sort of halted at this supply level to the left here. However, when we mitigated that supply, you can see we came into it once and then pushed up, took liquidity. So what I'd be expecting from this point right here is we'd be steadily pushing down and start taking out lows. But that didn't happen. We sort of halted here and then started to push on up again. So to me, that showed this supply was actually weak and price intended to go higher. Because I'd wanted to see at least this low here taken out if we were looking for any sort of shorts in here, maybe coming down into this demand in here before potentially pushing higher. But these are the two zones I'll be looking at and targeting if I was looking for shorts. But you can see we barely took out the first two lows, and when we did take them out, it looked to be a liquidity sweep because price closed right back into the formation of this demand right here. So it tells me, at the moment, at this present moment in time, we are bullish. So I wanted to get in on that. So if we just go back to the hourly here. So with that in mind, just get these. So with that in mind, I was looking for buys at the demand zones you can see in the video here. Obviously, we broke the structure to the high, and had a very momentous push up and printed a new high. So the reason I picked these zones is because I tend to pick my supply and demand zones paired with where momentum kicks into the market. Obviously, zones are a hot topic. Where do you mark out your zone? Is this zone valid? I get those questions all the time. I've just done a video for my course members breaking down how exactly I pick my zones and my strategy behind it. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link down in the description. So as you can see, picked these two demand zones. You can see just before momentum kicks in, ideal spots for me, and we ended up pushing down into that area. You can see we had this little resting point here, which is actually a demand area. We had an initial reaction to that, and we pushed a little bit higher before eventually failing it. So we pushed into this supply and ended up shooting down to these areas here to fill in the imbalance. So pushed into supply. Could maybe have caught a lower time frame entry in on that. Let's have a look actually. See if there were any opportunities in there. So for me personally, there wasn't. Did we take liquidity? Not really, not enough for me really. So no opportunities there. But when it comes to this area of supply, so personally for me, I would have missed an entry here. So I would have looked at this area as my short area entry point. So if we just pull that to the side, so you can see I would have missed it by quite a way, to be fair. So stop loss, something like that. So you can see you missed it by quite a way. Well, not a major amount of space in there, but nonetheless a missed opportunity. For those of you wondering why I've marked out this area, I'll just show you now. So with the first tap into supply here, and obviously the first tap, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know the drill. I want to see a liquidity sweep of that high, and I want to see around 30 to 60-70% of the zone mitigated. As you can see, we did that, and this area right here was the mitigation area which got swept. Sorry, ignore that liquidity sweep right there. This is what I'm talking about. So this one came in and I was waiting for that high to be swept. You can see we swept that quite nicely. And then what I'm looking for is a break of structure to the downside, which we got right here. There we go. So we actually broke two areas of demand. But for me, this one isn't of interest because you can see as it pushed up from here, it didn't print a new high. So this is actually a weak demand area. So if we are to come back into that, I would be expecting a fail. As you can see, we got that there. So this demand area pushed the new high. So it is a strong demand zone. So if we break that, it's good confirmation that we are potentially going to go lower, and that the hands have switched. So I'd look for my entry point in and around this area here. So from high to low, I'd look at supply areas of high value in there. So the reason I would have picked this area right here is because obviously this this supply right here would have been on many people's radar, I would imagine. Let me just pull that. Oh, oops. Zoom in a bit. So this area right here would have been on quite a few people's radar. And obviously if you've got a nice enough stop loss just covering high, you would have been in that move. But for me, I don't like the look of the liquidity sitting right here, which looks to have got swept before we went lower. So in this scenario, what I'd be waiting for is for price to come down and potentially sweep that liquidity, and on sweeping that liquidity, tag me in before we move down. So that would have been quite a good scenario. That's how I would have set it up if I was trading this live. But obviously, as you can see, we didn't actually get tagged in. So moving on. So there was a potential opportunity from that supply. And obviously, you could have targeted all the way down to that demand, which if you got in with a nice enough position, maybe a fatter stop loss, just covering both those supply areas right here. So something like this. If you got in here, something like that, you could have got a nice 10% move there, which is fantastic. But yeah, fair play to you if you got that. So just get rid of that, and we'll move on to the zone of interest. So anyway, so I was looking at potential longs from this demand or this demand, seeing which one held, and sort of monitoring lower time frame price action once we came into either of these zones. So as you can see at this area here, I was interested because, I was interested in this zone because you can see momentum starts to halt here, which is interesting because if it really wanted to come to this one, it would have just tanked through, or would have rested maybe in here, creating inducement for this zone, maybe creating a double bottom around this area. But that didn't happen. We actually started to create inducement just above this zone, which sort of validated it a lot more for me, even though we haven't mitigated it. But obviously still I was monitoring it to see what happened. So you can see it's a nice bit of inducement just above this zone here. Obviously, you know, it could also be using this inducement as an excuse to tank into this demand zone, you know, so they were both still valid for me. So let's crack on. So now we've come into this demand. I was interested. So go down to the 1 minute here. Oh, giving it away. So what we do now is what we always do, just do our lower time frame confirmations. So you can see this area right here is my first zonal tap. So I want to see that swept first. So we get the low of this and draw a line and mark it as liquidity. So I want to see this low swept before I even think about being interested in this, and you can see we swept that zone very nicely. So step number 2, now we have to wait for a sign of bullish momentum. So I want to see this high taken and a break of structure confirmed. And as you can see, we get that right there. So now I am definitely interested in this move, definitely interested in the move up. So what I would do is look for the source of this break. As you can see, our strong demand is right here. So I mark this zone up like this, and I set my position. Oh, go away. I set my position, quite a nice tight stop. And for me, I'm just want to see if this tags in before I then set up any target points. If I just play this at 3 times speed, you'll see what happens. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, it's run away from me. Once we started, if I just replay that. So once we started moving up here, I thought, okay, it's going to be a missed entry. But obviously, with the help from NFP on Friday, you can see we got a beautiful mitigation there of the zone I was looking at. So at this point, I'd go break even around this area because that's the sort of last printed high. So obviously that happened quite quickly. And if we just go to the 15-minute here, so for me, sorry, not the 15-minute, the hourly. So for me, I'd be targeting the high of the entire move, so around about there. Actually, that's a lie. I'll probably target that supply right there. Yeah, that actually lines up. So I'll be targeting this supply right here. Just the bottom of it, because obviously I don't want to get any. I don't want a chance going all the way through the zone. I just want a mitigation, and then I'm out. Because obviously this is an outrageously big move. I'll be happy with even 5% of this move. So we just move that to the side. So yeah, this is how it played out. So obviously at this point, it'll be break even, happy days, and then boom, we are out of this trade. There we go. At 59.5%, which is absolute. I still can't wrap my head around it. That's absolutely astronomical. Even though for me, I just want to clarify, I didn't take this live. This was a back test. But even back testing is just exciting to see because it's just, you don't see this often. So we just move that there. You can see we did start fluctuating after we mitigated that supply. This is why I didn't want to stay in it too long. Could have targeted the entire zone, but what's that? It's an extra, 8%. I'm happy with the 59. Personally, for me, I probably would have gone 0.5 on this position, so you're probably looking about 28.5 R, something like that, which is still incredible. You know, that'd be me done for a couple of months. But yeah, hopefully, guys, you find that video informative, and I hope it, you know, if you're struggling with anything, covered things up for you. Obviously, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram. If you're interested in joining my mentorship program, I'll leave links down below. Got a load of stuff in there. Obviously, I can't say too much, but it's really good stuff, and I have designed it to be beneficial to you guys looking to take your trading career to the next level. So I'll leave all the links down below if you're interested. Until then, guys, have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you crush the markets next week. Peace.